It's all right. It's a big river.
It's a big river. By the way, I was looking at your the orange belt.
Yeah.
The 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 one that says register is still saying white belt. So how do I register for the orange belt?
Oh, it's not released yet. I got to get the quizzes
Ah,
added to it, and then yeah. But I appreciate your feedback already. So I'm sure there's going to be little edits like that because I basically just copied it and then I just introduced the right video, different set of quizzes and videos. So you can start watching the videos, um,
okay.
and then yeah, essentially I'll connect with Katubu by the end of this week, and should have the quizzes or start getting them in there.
Okay. Yeah, but I think Kutubu posted it, and I thought that was already running. So, okay, great. So it's still on. It's still what you call it, work in progress.
Yeah, we're just dropping. It's called drip marketing.
Drip, like that. Eh, Um, Ernest, you know that we're doing a lot. We're trying to do a lot of the how-to sessions in education now. I'm
Yep.
trying to get a set going. You did how-to for Notions, correct?
Yep.
Can you do one for the education under Notions?
Yeah, and actually, it was, essentially I just kind of co-facilitated the production of it. I think the video for the Notion workshop was done by TrueCat. I just did the
Where is
video and
it?
the editing. It's good. Um,
No, where is it? No, not
it's
Notions.
yeah.
Gnosis. Notions one I know. I've got that for TrueCat. I got TrueCat's
Oh
Notion
yeah.
video. That is really good. But Gnosis,
Yeah.
Gnosis safe.
But it's on my YouTube channel. I don't have. I never did like a write up for it. Um,
Okay.
and
What? I mean, you
mostly
haven't been to the. Yeah.
there's just like people just need that hands-on experience, and so
Yeah.
ultimately that's why in that one workshop it's like, okay, let's actually set up a multi-sig real quick, get some people that are have wallets to do some transactions, and then just send some tokens into the multi-sig and then send them out, right? And then add
Yeah.
a bunch of people and just let people do the signatures and then get out of the multi-sig. um,
But
People just need
where is it? Do you have a link to it?
yep.
Gnosis safe? Because how do you say it? I mean, I really don't know whether it's going to work or not. But what I'm trying to do in the Education Guild right now is to come up with this whole series of things where we're going to do recurringly. So it's not just a video; it's just somebody that actually is there that does it, and then links all the videos that's been done.
Yeah, I'll drop my Gnosis video in, and it's part of my Just DAO Tools playlist. So I got videos on Coordinate, Seshbot, TradingView, more Coordinate.
Can
Yeah,
you, you know, there is a bounty for it. Do you want to do one for Gnosis?
sure,
Gnosis safe?
sure.
It's just like how do you say? Uh, let me show you something.
Usually, what Think Decade does is he just schedules it and then invites me, and then he's like, "All right, go ahead, Ernest," or or I show up
What do
late
you mean?
if he's already started. Um, yeah,
What do you mean?
it's Yeah, it'd be nice to actually plan some of these things, because they're usually,
Let me.
when I do them, very kind of just like a bunch of people are just ready, and I'm like, okay, let's do it.
That works too, I suppose. But
Well,
let me show you something.
I like the new joiner sessions, right? Like,
They're
and
good. They are really good.
but you need 3 to 6 months worth of like regular educational programs. Um, so it makes sense to have recurring workshops for Discord, for Notion, for Gnosis. Um,
That's what we're doing. That I'm trying to get the content ready for it. So what do you call it? And then, but the problem is I can't find people who know how to do these things. Like, I mean, the how to and all that, that's fine. But the what do you call it? Things like, Uniswap, Balancer, Rari Fuse Pool. We're trying to get a knowledge session for that too, and then make it recurring. The how-to sessions, once we get enough sorted out, we are going to do recurring. But the knowledge sessions is the one that's crazy.
yep.
Anyway, so what have you been doing apart from that? So I know TrueCat has done the Notion, the video. I mean, it's really, really good.
Yep.
But I'm trying to get it into a how-to session that is recurring. So I want to ask her if I can put her video. Her video is quite good.
Yeah, that's
I
what
don't know
it's.
whether she'd be interested in actually doing one for the Education Guild. I'll talk to her and see. So it's like you have to have a PowerPoint, and then you go in to do a live, and then you have an attached video plus an attached cheat sheet. So you got the whole hog. So we repeat it every month or every week.
Yeah, there's that
There you go.
database in the mentorship program of Education Guild, and all the courses that are in that database are very roughly set up that way. The template for the projects in that database.
Are you
Basically,
talking about the how-to?
no, the
What do
mentorship
you mean?
program.
Well, okay, explain the mentorship program, because we don't have that in the Education Guild page.
Yeah, in projects,
Hold on.
you'll see, man. I'll drop the link in the water cooler. But in projects,
Right.
there's the mentorship program, and this was
I've
around.
heard about that.
Yeah, this was around in the first couple seasons. Basically, it was the like first attempt to try to get some regular, consistent education going. Um, but
Yeah.
Discord,
Yeah.
Notion education, the basic tools, either there weren't people that were confident enough to teach it, or they're just weren't interested in teaching Notion, you know, or like basic skills. But so on this, at the end of this page, the main thing about this page is the database at the end. And Engels had created the template that's the first item in the database, but then it's been adapted for a lot of different types of courses. Um, it just sets the workshop up at the student and teacher's guide into one Notion page, and then it's up to the person that basically designs the project to put that content in these, so that anybody can pick up these workshops, anybody can teach from them, anybody should be able to self-study from them.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to get some content sorted out.
Yeah,
But
but you
what
gotta
about template?
do what?
So okay, I'm in the page. I've got Gnosis that you did.
Yeah, so there's the Gnosis knowledge session, and this is the, again, there's lots of detailed article in the how-to section of the DAO wiki, but
That I know. That's what I'm following. That's what
yep,
I'm following to get this. But I'm looking at the Gnosis session. So it's,
yeah.
what does it mean by the next session then? Oh, you talked about a Zoom meeting.
Oh,
I'm under mentorship and I'm looking under Gnosis.
um,
So reasons for the session, educational resources, prerequisites.
yeah, yeah. So there is no
So
next
this is a
session.
template. There's not.
Uh, no, I mean, this is more than just a template. This is the teacher guide. This is a student guide. You can present directly from it. Um,
Where? Oh,
it's a
hold on.
very it's kind of like a bare
Hold on.
bones, but it is based off the template, and the template is essentially, what's the reason for your knowledge session, what's the resources, what's the materials required for the knowledge session, um,
Wow.
and then the actual template is much more detailed, and usually there's some things that you just got to modify from the template to make it fit your knowledge session. You define your session flow. The one thing that's not like integrated with these templates is in instructional design, because it's these templates are actually really good for things you want to make broad knowledge. So again, the way the template is structured is so that a teacher or a student can pick it up, go through it, have multimedia you know ways of getting the material.
Okay.
There's
All right.
multiple videos in here. There's the NFT sign up sheet.
So what the plan was that you how do you say, do a mentorship? So somebody registers for it and then you get together with the person and then you do a mentorship. Was that the idea?
Nobody could ever agree on what the idea was. Immediately, the first thing that people started doing was like trying to figure out some way to gate it, or to make like mentors some like kind of privileged class, and so nobody was interested in that. Nobody wanted a like, you know, people just wanted to be able to set up knowledge sessions where you have a small group of people that you can hands on work through something. That's why it's a workshop. You like do something, not just, you can watch tons of videos on Gnosis, you can watch tons of articles on Gnosis, but what people need to do is like import the Gnosis, they need to modify the Gnosis, they need to do a transaction in the Gnosis, right?
Right.
And there's just so many things that need to be broad skills. And so, again, Engit's built this template, and this is how, in the Education Guild, originally we first started developing educational courses. And then Academy, like, was born, and they started doing educational courses in there. And, essentially, it was like people were in the academy doing stuff, so they didn't really have time to do things in Education Guild. Um, and everybody wanted to design content and media, but not actually sit down and do mentorship with people. So the mentorship program and like consistent education died for 2 seasons. Until you got here.
It, it's crazy because nobody passes this information on. I
Yeah,
mean, I've heard of mentorship before, but to actually sit down and walk through it,
Yeah. So
I'm basically starting from scratch, which is a bit stupid.
yeah. Well, and so instead of me trying to develop a mentorship program uphill with people not interested in Education Guild, I just started writing mentorship into the role structure in Research and Relationships Guild. So that when you're a role holder or an apprentice in those guilds, you will learn Gnosis, you will learn Coordinate, you will learn Notion, you will learn Discord, and there's the roles are structured so that the role holders can spend time mentoring the assistants or the apprentices.
I saw that you set up a proposal, right, recently, and there was an assistant.
Yeah, the
So that's the mentor. How do you say the understudy? Is it?
yep. We still got to develop it to a proper like learner, program before we can call it like an apprentice program or mentorship program or something. But we're essentially creating that space, and it's I call it the buddy system. So all the like role relationships and relationships and research guild, mostly Bankless Africa, everything's the buddy system. Anytime you only have one person in charge of things or responsible for things, you just end up with issues later down the line. You know, and so the role holders in Research Guild were buddies of each other, but now they're getting more support, and we're kind of just recognizing that most people aren't qualified to be role holders. They don't know how to use Coordinate. They don't know how to use Gnosis. They don't know how to budget track. You know, they don't know how to use Notion very well.
Exactly.
So even though these,
Exactly. I mean,
go ahead.
yeah, go on.
No, you go.
No, that's the thing. You see, when they first, I was literally, I didn't want to take this role because I didn't think I knew enough to take it. I didn't know Notion. I didn't know Gnosis. So they said, but then they were saying, just go inside and do it. But then having said that, if I didn't take it up, I don't know who else was an educator. So the only knowledge I had coming into here was I was an educator. I knew how to educate and then pull people in together. But what you are doing, all this how do you say, this mentorship is really comprehensive if we can get it up and going. What I'm doing in Education Guild right now is very basic. It's like, we start a class, we do a recurring class, and I'll teach you the basics. And then I have the attachments of the video or a cheat sheet or a link to the how-to or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to get people who know how to do it, it's difficult. It's I'm trying to do a structured one. So you have to do a PowerPoint, you have to do a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
But this is a different thing altogether. I'll go through it a little bit.
Yeah, well, the hardest part for me was that I was, trying to pull groups together to create the educational content, and then then you have even fewer people that can like present the educational content, and then you have few people that can like record and document the educational content. And it just became too much for me to do all those things.
That's why I'm just starting small. But so if I go into, I'm trying to get involved in research, but it's very confusing for me exactly where I can get in and where I can help. I would like to get involved in research. So I'm pulling people from research. We did an announcement, Think is helping me up for people who know about, these things to come to Education Guild and help. Because there is I don't know how to do a bounty, but I've got if you can do this research, you get this much back. But the people who are coming in don't exactly know it. I've got a few researchers and they say, yeah, we've used it before. Then I said, fine, research it and send it to me and I'll pay you back. But getting people is the problem.
Well, I'll pay a little bit more attention. With Research Guild, essentially, we would like to be more consistent and more predictable in our knowledge sessions, right? In our education sessions. So, to the extent that we can manage our own, consistent education or our own knowledge sessions, but in a collaborative way with Education Guild, so that it meets the standard of appropriate, well thought out kind of education, then you know basically Education Guild helping with the content, and then we can keep recruiting the talent for our knowledge sessions and maybe some of the other ones as well. But we're
So
we our
under
knowledge
under
session
what is it?
our knowledge sessions
Uh-huh.
are on basic tooling and things that we think should be broad skill knowledge. We're not like Dev Guild and doing a knowledge session on some weird coding thing, right? Um, so I think there is space for collaboration with the knowledge sessions. We don't currently have like a space in our, I guess, in our governance space. We can talk about, and we can create a thread or a work group for the knowledge sessions. That would make it easier for you to be involved, because it would be like, hey, if you want to talk to, Education Guild and bring your research into Education Guild, this is the thread to do it in. This is the work group that's connected to Education Guild.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to do, because we need to link up. Actually, it should be Education Guild, Research Guild, and AV Guild that should work together to expand this. Right now, I'm doing my own recording. I'm doing my own, not I'm doing, but the people that I'm trying to get to say they have to pull together research. They have to pull together what you call it, a PowerPoint and an interactive session. They have to pull together a cheat sheet, and they have to pull together a recording of the what you call it, the session.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all lined up as one. But I need, so for recording, we need AV. But right now, Education Guild is doing it all by themselves. It just doesn't seem,
And
we're
Relationships Guild,
reinventing the wheel.
yeah, no, Relationships Guild is doing it all ourselves. Research Guild is doing it all ourselves. There is AV Guild's very difficult to kind of work with, um, and they take up a lot of space talking about nothing in their meetings, despite the amount of people that are in there. But there's just not a whole. It's not a whole lot of people that have AV skills in AV Guild. They are constantly trying to recruit for their podcasts, which is mostly what they should be called, a podcast guild. Um, but yeah.
But AV Guild does podcasts, right? All the bank podcast and the
Well,
Crypto Sapiens. Is
the,
it under them?
the one of the projects that came out of AV Guild is Podcast Hatchery. So most of the people with AV, I guess, experience have it podcasting experience, so it's mostly video experience, but there are some people who can do, animated commercials and things like that. But I try to recruit from outside the DAO for that kind of stuff. Really. And like, and you essentially got to find and develop that talent within the guild, and then like help them contribute and get involved with AV Guild, because you can ask questions in AV Guild. There are some things, but they don't have a talent pool. They are a very dry, shallow talent pool. Same with Design Guild.
Well,
There's like no 3D design work, essentially, from hardly anybody in Design Guild. I have to go outside of the DAO for actual design and AV talent. And it's hard to find outside the
Yeah,
DAO too. Every DAO I know
and
is
it's
looking for it.
expensive.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is like, when you hire a professional company to do your AV work, they have an office. But now, when you're trying to do everything with, you know, freelance people, you really need to be able to, pay their fee, pay their wages, or develop that talent yourself. Um, so I'm always looking for AV
Yeah.
people, and I can record the stuff that comes out of Research Guild. I don't always have consistent internet, or I have Wi-Fi, so sometimes it's not predictable. Um, so that limits the AV work that I can do.
Okay. Yeah. So you're right. We're literally duplicating everything.
Well,
And
ish, but I mean, if there's not the talent in AV Guild, each guild needs its own developmental pathways for the basics. Again, in Web3, in a world where you're in a metaverse and everything can be streamed or tweeted or posted to a blog, on a moment's notice, those skill sets require certain computer hardware sometimes. Um,
yeah.
but a lot of people, I think, could actually learn to record and stream and use OBS. It's just, so time consuming and it's not that exciting. Um,
Oh, Think showed me sent me the link for OBS, and OBS seems easy to use once you get it set up. I've only used it once though.
yep. And I'm working with an artist to try to develop uh, scenes for OBS so that your workshop can have like a bankless frame around it, right? That was just like a black frame, maybe like a red bar at the bottom with the Bankless logo in the corner. And, you know, the Education Guild could add their, sorry, some background noise, but the Education Guild, could just add their logo to the scene. Each guild, any guild or anybody could use the scene. Um, so that's a little side note on some things.
Yeah, because okay, all right. Because you're talking about knowledge, right? I'm the only person with any education knowledge in Education Guild. And the last season, Manuel was leading it and he had no education skills. The content is pathetic. So you're right that we need to build it up, but I really don't have time to teach people how to do instructional design simply because I want to build up content. So I need teachers, but I can't. Do you know who are the skills that we're getting the most right now from the people coming in? Is call it design. Call that thing. Graphics designers. We've got like about 10 graphic designers and 10 UI UX people. When I'm looking for people with, specific knowledge in protocols. So anyway, sorry.
All right.
Crying over your shoulder, telling you my problems.
Yeah, they'll be done mowing in a minute. Yeah, well, it's good to know. I'll spend, I usually like check in and read through the stuff in Education Guild, frequently. Um, I haven't had their meetings and stuff um, in my schedule, but I can make it a point to get back more involved with the guild. It's like that's the main, because
What right? All I'm doing right now is getting the content up. Once I get the content up, then we're going to do recurring. I mean, we've done so much. We've done coordinate, we've done sesh, I'm trying to do, I was doing collab land, and then iSpeakNet completely turned it around and took away the DM. So all my slides have to be redone now. I got so upset, which is good, but
yeah, I know.
Anyway,
That makes sense.
yeah. So he's taken away the DM, so it's safer now. Where is Wish? This book club is dying. We need to do something.
Yeah, the book club's always like that. I can, I actually think we should move it to a more open. I wouldn't mind doing it on Twitter Space or, doing it on a Web3 space and, trying to get some, just random people into the book club. The main thing is, you know, to be able to let people know ahead of time what the topic is. I kind of would like to know like 2 weeks before each book club, like what the topic is, so that when I publish something, it's like, hey, this is coming up. Hey, this is almost here. Hey, this is what happened. You know, um, and yeah, we just haven't, um, I guess, organized enough in book club to set like a schedule of topics.
Yeah. I mean, Wish comes up with a few, but it's always like a few days before we have so we need to sit down and, how do I put it? Come up with, I've never done Twitter Space. I am very, very bad with Twitter. I have no friends on Twitter, so I can't even retweet, and I don't even know how to retweet. But yeah.
That's great.
I'm pathetic.
That's great. That's okay. Man, there's just lots of Bankless people to follow. Like just about, and I'm not on Twitter a whole bunch. There's some things that I routinely do on Twitter, but Twitter's really good at just recommending people, and you're like, oh, I recognize that .eth address from Discord. And I'll follow. You know, I'm following over 30 different media nodes in Bankless now on Twitter.
How do you keep up though? That's the thing that I'm worried about. And when I click follow, then I'll get this whole deluge of tweets that come in, plus the fact that
yeah, you got to limit yourself on the time. Like usually when I open Twitter, like I'll see a couple of the things in my feed and I might respond to it. But I actually use TweetDeck to, I guess, monitor specific profiles that I retweet and share and comment on. And then I can also track and follow hashtags. So I can, instead of reading through my feed, I just read through, regenerative finance and, a couple other hashtags and look for interesting articles to share or check out. But I don't scroll through my feed at all.
I have no idea how to do half the things you just said. I'm still trying to get my head around Discord. I need to get a little bit more involved. Listen, Apollo and I are trying to get a list of stuff to help people. You just gave me that idea to help people navigate Discord. How do you handle Discord? How do you handle all the channels? How do you organize your Discord so that it doesn't overwhelm you?
I mean, I have, close to 200 different Discords categorized into different folders depending on what they are. And then as far as the DAO Discord, there are different strategies. Like I only monitor certain channels certain times. And there's a lot of things that I ignore that I used to like read that's just like extra. But once you understand how the Bankless DAO Discord is organized and how threads are organized and pinned messages, this is my biggest complaint is that guest passers can't pin messages, so we can't keep conversations organized in Discord. And most people don't do a good job at pinning things in the channels, so it is kind of difficult to find out like how to get involved in an area because nobody writes out a description for their channels and few people pin messages in their channels. But the description of each channel can be modified and clearly explain like how you use that channel. And then the pinned messages give you all the relevant links to notions or whatever process or description you need for that channel.
But guest passes can create threads, right?
Yeah, but we can't pin
So
messages because if you have L2s are allowed to pin messages because you get the ability to delete messages when you have the permission to pin messages. And they don't want to give a bunch of people, guest passers just by default the ability to delete messages. You can I can go to Ops Guild and write a proposal and be like, hey, I've been a level 2, been a level 1 couple
you
times,
have been,
been a
yeah.
guest passer, like, I'm a role holder. These couple people are role holders in this guild. Can we have this specific permission? And they said, yeah, we can do that. So kind of like a guild or project can manage its Notion permissions, you can, with Ops Guild, essentially propose the same kind of management with your Discord position permissions.
Mm.
Usually I just
But
tag L2 and say like, please pin this, and then the L2 will see it and get it pinned.
but pinning something is you just pin the essential. You're pinning one, how do you say, one discussion, right? Whereas the thread is a flow of discussions. Is that the difference?
Well, so like you could have like it's real easy to kind of hover over a channel and see all the threads that are in that channel, but you could have all the threads pinned in the pinned messages, right? So yeah, anything that's essential, anything that's permanent, anything that's a resource that's frequently used, or anything that you want to, just better describe, you pin it. And, you should check on those pinned messages, not just let them pile up. Um, but yeah, you have to have the
Okay.
ability to know what you can ignore. And the main thing when I got into the DAO that I had to figure out is just like where do I find the information that I need? So anytime that I didn't know something, you just go to no stupid questions, and then somebody there bounces you to the appropriate category in the DAO. But you just have talent pools and you have projects, and and then you have 6 more Bankless DAO Discords.
Yeah. Wait a minute. How do you find something? I mean, if I read something, right, and then all of a sudden I don't know which channel I read it in, do
Oh,
you have a method of finding something? How do
yes.
you find something?
So there's a search bar in the top right hand corner of your Discord, and you can search a channel or you can just like search the whole DAO. Like you type in somebody's name or a word, and then it'll populate underneath the search bar all the different channels and conversations in the DAO that. So that's a big thing
So
too. Is like a lot of people don't know.
when I want to search, like, okay, let me see, let me put it this way. I want to find out your Gnosis Safe video that you did. How would I do that? Do you?
Yeah, you just
So
search
if I
Gnosis,
if
and the first thing that pops up is my post that it'll show you things by time, so you can see where like a half hour ago I posted the video in the water cooler.
Yeah, but that's your name, right? I'm trying to say just to find the link without going through all of it. So
Just
you
search,
have done this like a few months ago. So where would you do has?
just search Gnosis. Just type in Gnosis, and it'll show you. You can type in Gnosis and maybe Ernest, and then nah, that doesn't work. Um, but if you type in Gnosis, it just anytime anybody wrote the word Gnosis, it'll be in here. You'd have to go backwards. Like if you're like, I know Ernest did something 2 months ago. You might have to
Yeah,
go
exactly.
backwards 2 months ago, but there's lots of other people also posting things about Gnosis. Apollo did a Loom video that got posted yesterday.
Yes.
Um, uh, in the L2 migration working group, they did either an article or they posted an article on how to use Wallet Connect.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw that. Wait a minute. So I've just done Gnosis. I've put in the results, and it's come up with what you just posted in the water cooler chat.
mhm.
And then it has got um,
you,
Gnosis merger questions.
you also start getting
Yeah.
people's Gnosis transactions. And then at the bottom,
Okay, all right. I think yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the one that Eth Hunter posted that Apollo did.
yeah,
Yay, all right. Okay, got it, got it.
but yeah, this is, you know, I don't use the search bar a lot. Um,
So are there any shortcuts that you use, like, slash shortcuts to help you navigate?
no, I just know, like, you got the new joiner section, you have your tools, your calendar, your polls, your forums, your community call, and then you have the general membership section. And then you have, just governance and guilds. Well, governance projects, then guilds, and then more projects.
I know, it's crazy.
Yep.
Okay, all right. See, it's the little things. Sometimes it's so obvious, but you don't really use it.
Well, and I
Oh,
always I always try to remind people, right? Like Bankless DAO is a media DAO where everything, every social agreement is some type of branding agreement. Um, and you're either a guild and a talent pool that's there to develop talent based on whatever the guild's name is, or you're a project, or you're a media node. If you're not a guild and you're not a media node, you're a project.
Define media node.
You publish media, you do social media. So, like First Quest, they have a Twitter account. They are a media node. Media nodes and projects and guilds are funded somewhat differently. Um, and media nodes generally have a revenue share agreement, especially if they are requesting funds for their media node. Um, it may take them a while to develop a revenue, but there's still a revenue share agreement, or there's, an understanding that your project, is going to be self-sustaining in the future. Whereas, guilds are funded to develop talent, um, not necessarily to generate a revenue. Although, right, grants committee loves hearing about guilds. Some guilds do generate a revenue, and like Writers Guild, they get mostly funded from Bankless DAO, but they turn the majority of their revenue to the DAO. Whereas a media node, that's language specific, or like Bankless Africa, um, might, well, right now we're getting a lot of funding from the DAO, but ultimately we want to get no funding from the DAO and be a positive, contributor to the DAO's treasury. And DAO relationships is probably a year away from being a a positive, income generating guild.
So is DAO relationships called a media node?
We are also a media node. We're a guild, but we're now, because we're a guild that is doing events, we're trying to figure out what's the best way is to publish our events. Again, is that a collaboration with Marketing Guild, Writers Guild? Do we do it ourselves? Um,
But what events does DAO relationship publish? Because you also have another one called Bankless Consultancy.
yeah,
I get confused on what the two do actually.
yeah. Essentially, relationships is more focused on relationship building prior to knowing what that relationship is. And so some people come to us, um, and some people end up coming to Bankless Consultancy. And sometimes Bankless Consultancy can't help them, so they come to relationships after Bankless Consulting. Sometimes, we help connect people to Bankless Consulting, or maybe they want to be directly connected to Education Guild or Marketing Guild or some other service in the DAO. We just kind of facilitate that initial relationship. But so we do professional AMAs where we charge $5,000 US, to do AMAs for folks. But we're also starting to develop, um, smaller, um, like demo sessions and pitch deck sessions, so that we can, you know, basically just expose people to applications and, other protocols, and, help them recruit talent that they need. And then at the same time, when Bankless DAO members are looking for things to do, if they don't have something to do in their guild, they can, listen in on these and, you know, figure out how to contribute to other projects too, you know. So it kind of goes both ways. Whereas consultancy is just focused on, hey, you got a bunch of money to spend, you want to try to get this kind of, service or something.
So consultancy is funded?
They are their own they're their own corporation or LLC. They
The LLC.
Yeah, they do. They have their own. They 1099 the people in Bankless Consulting. You know,
Sorry, what is 1099?
it's that's the if you're an independent contractor, that's the tax form that you get at the end of the year. That's like, this is how much you earned working with this company, and then you can submit that 1099 with your taxes.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah,
So
they're
if they're an LLC with in America. You're talking about
yeah,
registered in America.
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know where they're registered, but the people, yeah. And then they have Bankless Consulting has a work stream, so Research Guild collaborates with them to help have their talent for their work stream. Um, we, Dalationships Guild wouldn't help somebody set up governance for their DAO. That's something Bankless Consulting would do. You might come to Dalationships and through our discovery calls or our events or attending meetings, it might come up that you have a problem that or a blocker that you're trying to solve, and then we would be like, oh yeah, go to Bankless Consulting. They'll help you design that and figure it out. Or, it's like, you know, hey, just go to Writers Guild and submit your
Mm,
article and
okay.
see if they'll run it. So yeah, and then yeah, relationships is just more focused on kind of the fuzzy stuff, but the AMAs are bringing in cold hard cash.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I can never get to the ANAs, AMAs. First of all, I either miss it or it's in my weird time zones.
Yeah, that's the other tricky thing about events. Half of your attendance is just solely based on did you pick the right time at the right day for people. There's a
Mm-hmm.
you can build up a reputation and you can get people to like check your schedule, when if you can plan things ahead of time. But that's the thing about Twitter Spaces that's so catchy is like you just watch your Twitter and it tells you what a Twitter Space is happening and then you join in. There's some people schedule them on a regular basis, so then you start to expect, oh, this time of day, on Fridays during my lunchtime, right? That's when I'm going to be listening to Twitter Spaces. Um, but most people are just like, oh, I got time. I'm going to check on Twitter. Oh, there's a Twitter space happening. Let me join it. Same in Discord, except
Yeah.
it's a smaller thing. So it's like you can have it on the calendar, but you have no idea who's actually going to be available that day to randomly, look at the calendar and be like, yep, I'm going to that today.
I know what you mean. Yeah, you're right. You sort of like slot your time and then hope for the best that something will happen then.
Yeah, and I think you get the
The
right
idea.
people. I think you still but it's much more difficult to like plan for because you don't know if you're gonna have two people show up to book club or you're gonna have 50.
I know.
Especially when you
You
start
probably
yeah.
You had a few more book club connections, didn't you? When I first joined, you had a few links to other book clubs. Do
Yep.
you still join those?
I haven't recently been able to do it just because I started checking out some stuff, spending some time in on the Harmony blockchain. But yeah, they still happen. There's, my retirement plan is book club. One day, that's all you're going to know about Ernest is that every day there's a book club session somewhere. And
A lovely idea.
yeah, and that's part of the idea about the book club was like it's like how do you create a space in the DAO where there can be a each one teach one knowledge exchange where people can share what they've learned and try to you know digest what they've learned and then explain it to somebody else. It's like so hard to explain blockchain to your family and people that aren't in the Discord. It's like pure joy and excitement for new people when they can actually talk to people in Discord. but there's a difference between understanding it and then being able to explain it to other people,
Explain it.
right? And
I,
so that's what book club is mostly about. That's why like you don't actually have to read any books. You just want to bring some contribution to a discussion, and it could be planned or completely just what'd you learn, and you know.
maybe then book club might not be the right title.
It's
You know what you explained is perfect, and people will definitely pour into it. But maybe they don't even understand what this book club is trying to do. Exactly like you said, it's an exchange of knowledge,
yeah.
which is what I do here. That's why I like it so much. You come here and you learn something, especially from you, darling.
Oh, thanks dear. Oh, yeah, and for me too, and that's why I really, like wishes book clubs tend to be a little bit more technical, and things that you know I just wouldn't have like picked up and read on my own. um, and so it's a great place, always been a great place for me to learn things. Yeah, I've been,
Yeah.
one of the things is like we got a budget at one time, and instead of, essentially because we don't have a working business plan and revenue model, there's been no promotion. And so we haven't spent any of our funds, right? We're just kind of, we were hoping to put it into DeFi. And, that was just part of the thing. It's like, hey, contribute to the book club. And then, yeah, help us manage our treasury too. Like, uh, but so there's just no, it's just people, it's just one of the projects that's completely volunteer, and yeah, fundamentally there's
I
just been
like
very little promotion about it. But if you're a book club and you've done a book club in real life, like, and you come into the DAO, you know, you feel somewhat comfortable, and you're like, okay, there's a real world something in here somewhere.
Yeah, but I think that's when the first time I entered the book club, you guys had all these plans to do the treasury and try out the DeFi and all of that. But then that sort of like died because we don't have any liquidity anywhere. I
Yeah,
mean, think the other day was trying to transfer some Polygon, and he said the slippage in the liquidity pool is crazy.
yeah,
So we sort of like, took a back seat to everything. But that's one of the things that I was interesting was because, we could start doing DeFi and learn about the different protocols. And that would have been fun too. And actually physically, I mean, really, how do you say, try it out, not just talk about it, but just but use the money to try it out. That would have been fun. But that didn't take off simply because of the markets.
yeah. Well, and it's, as far as I know, you know, once the L2 migration happens, then, there's going to be the people, that figured that out will go back to figuring out setting up incentivized pools. Um, and once I think grants committee kind of has their long-term budget planning under control, then I think they'll be able to, folks will be able to propose, essentially, okay, we know what our long-term budget is for the DAO. Let's do these, incentivize these pools at this amount, and then that discussion can take place. But I think it's essentially on hold until the L2 migration happens.
To be honest, I'm on the L2 migration team, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen at the DAO level because there seems to be a lot of pushback to say that it is too risky or we don't want to do it because that's why this whole thing about the Wallet Connect, if that works, then the committee should be able to do it. because they don't, it's a risky thing to go out and come back in and with a third party, which is what you guys did at research.
Yeah.
But if Wallet Connect works, then it's all, how do you say, it's secure. Then maybe the DAO will move, because when, as of now, right, the DAO is saying that it's not, they don't want to move 100% to L2, so they need to figure out what percentage. So this whole L2 migration thing, I've been fighting it and saying we need to move it at the DAO level, but DAO is not pushing back to say it's not that easy. There's too many complications. So, I mean, that is dragging its feet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's all valid. And yeah, there is a security risk. Um, but you know, essentially there should be on a DAO level a certain percentage of the income that just gets moved to Polygon, so that it's accessible to
Exactly.
guilds and so that it builds up, um, because then the DAO can generate revenue on Polygon because it has a gnosis. So yeah,
How would it do? How
but
would it do that? It'll have to.
I
You
mean,
can't generate it on.
well, yeah, if you provide services, you just start telling, if you're sending money to the DAO, send it to this address. So, like, when we sell a $5,000 AMA, we send 10% of that to the DAO treasury. Well, we can accept that 5,000 USDC on Polygon. And, if we wanted to send that 10% to the DAO, currently we'd have to bridge it, or essentially, what we have USDC on our ETH mainnet safe, so we could, but essentially we would have to then bridge that and then send it to the DAO. Whereas if the DAO had a treasury on Polygon, we could just send it directly to the Polygon one.
Got it.
But yeah, that's the big question: is what amount of bank is not risky and more useful and helpful, you know,
To the overall DAO.
yeah, and when people can do transactions at $5, there's just not much incentive, right, to figure out that
Exactly.
math.
Yeah.
But I think we've forgotten that gas at one time was $80, and so to put that burden on, it's just a matter of where do you want to put the burden. Do you want to have the guild, the DAO bridge several million bank over to Polygon, or do you want 13 different guilds bridging 500,000 bank? And it might be less risky having the guilds do it. Um, but fundamentally, and I think until that's resolved, there's not going to
Wait, wait,
be.
wait. Explain that again. So you're saying that if the DAO has got a Polygon gnosis, then the guilds will be able to send it directly into the DAO Polygon gnosis safe, correct? And that would save them the gas. Is that where you're coming from?
Well, so every 3 months, every season, the DAO treasury disperses to each guild and each project. So
Yes.
that the and then if that guild wants to, right, it has to bridge that bank over to Polygon.
Correct.
So that's 13 guilds bridging their bank to Polygon, at 500,000, let's say half of their budget,
Mm-hmm.
versus if the DAO just had one multi-sig, then they could just move, you know, 6 million bank once instead of 13 guilds moving 500,000 bank.
Okay, got it.
And so, which is riskier, you know? Um, and You know,
Yeah,
it's definitely more secure just being on Ethereum. It's just,
definitely.
and with Parcel covering our gas expenses, again, there's less incentive. But fundamentally, if we want pools on Matic, on Polygon or Avalanche or whatever, there it needs to be a multi-sig from the DAO, or you're gonna have, like, I'm just gonna approach, I'm trying to figure out how much you need to actually incentivize a pool on Balancer. Um, but you could have, 4 or 5 guilds um, propose to, collaborate on a balancer pool.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and then you got like 6 proposals going to the grants committee, and everybody saying like, well, we've budgeted in an extra 100,000 so that we can create a liquidity on Polygon since the DAO's not going to do it, right? So again, does it make more sense at the guild level to do that or the DAO level? And I think
Our level, yeah.
yeah, it would just make sense. You still need consensus from people to do it, but somewhere there's a number that people are comfortable with. I definitely, with some of the recent hacks we've heard about, like, there's no guarantee that a Polygon bridge isn't going to get hacked, just like the Horizon bridge did. Like, but
Horizon Bridge?
yeah, on the Harmony blockchain, their
Ah, okay.
their bridge got hacked. But their bridge got hacked because they had a 2 of 5 multi-sig, and then they had the private keys
Yeah.
stored on a server, and basically it was just like a brute force hack where somebody hacked the people, not really like the protocol or anything. Um,
Human error. Ernest, I have to go. Um, Thank you so much. Talking to you is always like, a boatload of information.
you ask great questions, and yeah, I'll work Education Guild back into my schedule, and we'll definitely.
Yeah, at least attend one meeting and then see what you can do to help out, because I'm right now trying to get content and there is money to be made. I mean, I'm trying to get people to say, and I'm dangling this in front, come help me. Problem is, we don't have how do you say, the right sort of knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think.
right. I got to run.
Okay. We'll take
All
care.
right, I got to run. Take care. Talk to you next week.
Yep.
Take care. Thanks, Ernest. Thanks a lot.
Ciao.